Hey, yeah, word. Wanna hear it, wanna talk about it, word. Wanna hear it, wanna talk about it. Know it's all about the word. You know it's word. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Word the Podcast. I'm your host, G-Stylez, and today I have a very special episode. I'm going to be doing two different interviews, and they're both with legendary bands. That's right, bands that have been around for decades. And the first person we're talking to today is Andy Corwin, who is the band leader of the legendary band, the Limeliters. Very nice to have you on the show today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Gerald. I'm happy to be here.
So can you tell our listeners what kind of music that you do?
Folk music is the catch-all. The band itself dates back to the early 60s when the pop music scene was dominated by groups like the Kingston Trio, Peter, Paul, and Mary, the Brothers Four, the New Christy Minstrels, and the Limeliters, who were one of the luminaries of that period, pre-Beatles, because the whole music industry changed, around 1964 when the Beatles first came to town. But prior to that, between about 1957 and 64, kids on college campuses and across the country were enthralled by acoustic, harmony-singing folk musicians. The original Limeliters, although we're not a tribute band as much as we are the continuation of a band that's been around now for, 66 years, I think.
Yeah. Wow.
We're just the current members of this continuum.
So are there any original members left in the band?
No, actually, the last of the original three passed away last year at the age of 91, and his name was Alex Hasselev. Alex was, of the three of them, the one that lived the longest, and the one that kept the band going and actively performed for about 50 years. I was brought into the band 21 years ago by Alex, worked with him for about 3 years until he retired, and we've stayed close throughout. Alex was always involved in a lot of the decision-making and was as helpful as he could be in helping us find opportunities to perform and what have you. So it's kind of a family thing.
So where does the name the Limeliters come from?
When the three originals first got together, there was a fellow by the name of Lou Gottlieb, and he recruited Alex and a wonderful, wonderful singer by the name of Glenn Yarbrough. Originally, they got together to record demos that Lou was trying to pitch to the Kingston Trio, who were the number one act in America at the time. And Lou was a very talented vocal arranger, and so he brought Alex and Glenn into the studio to record demos. When they listened to themselves, they decided that they sounded pretty good and maybe they should just perform as a trio. At that time, Alex and Glenn were part owners of a ski lodge in Aspen that was called the Limelight Lodge. And they used to perform at the Limelight Lodge. And so the very first gigs that they did were there in Aspen. Lou was able to get them booked at the Hungry Eye Club in San Francisco, which at the time was, the place to be. And the story goes, when they arrived at the Hungry Eye Club, the owner asked them, "What's the name of this band?" And they said, "Well, we don't really have a name. Just call us Gottlieb, Hasselev, and Yarbrough." And he said, "No way, man. I don't have enough letters for the sign." He said to them, "What was the name of that place you said you were at in Aspen? The Limelight? Okay, from now on, you're the Limeliters." And that's how the band got its name. And continued spelling it without a G-H in the name, because that's the way they spelled it at the Limelight Lodge. Interestingly, though, folks that are familiar with Aspen might know this place, which is still there. They remodeled it and expanded it, and it's a beautiful hotel these days. And they put the G-H back in in the word Limelight. But we never did that. We stuck to the original spelling.
And so they were in the top of the charts back then as well, too, like in 1961 or so, like top 5, top 40.
Yep. Made many television appearances. Ed Sullivan was a big fan of the Limeliters. He booked them, probably half a dozen times over the years. There was a very popular show on ABC back then that was called Hootenanny, which featured folk folk musicians, and the Limeliters appeared on Hootenanny quite a few times, the Dinah Shore show. I'm blanking now, but there were a lot of television appearances back then, and they produced a number of best-selling albums, and were a very popular attraction on college campuses from coast to coast. They had a Grammy nomination in 1963 for a children's album that they made called Through Children's Eyes, which I remember I had a copy of that one when I was 8 years old and learned all those songs way back then. So it's kind of, for me, you know, I've been listening to this music, and I started to play guitar when I was about 7. I learned those songs that the Limeliters sang, and of course the Kingston Trio and Peter, Paul and Mary and lots of the groups from that era. But as I mentioned, it's still March, so my first performance with the Limeliters was in March of 2004, so I'm celebrating my 21st anniversary with the band this month.
Well, congratulations, man.
Well, thank you.
So that's got to be pretty incredible to be working with a band that you grew up listening to, right?
Mm-hmm. And, you know, there's these days, of course, as everybody knows, they're very popular for there to be tribute groups that do the repertoire of the original group. And we do that. In addition to that, all three of us, current members, myself, Daniel Bowling, and Steve Brooks, who are old friends of mine, we're all songwriters as well. So we try to mix it up. We play the classics, and we also are able to showcase our own original songs, kind of combine that into, you know, an evening of folk music. So that's why I say it's a little bit different than most nostalgia acts that are really tied into performing the hit songs that everybody knows. We do that and supplement that, augment that with our own material. And people seem to like it, so we carry on.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to be anyway, because you want to kind of evolve instead of just playing music from the 50s and 60s and 70s and stuff.
Absolutely. And we, of course, we love to play folk festivals and sit around and jam after the shows with the folks that come to the festivals and bring their guitars and banjos and mandolins, and it's a modern-day hootenanny.
Yeah. And so do you still tour all over the world?
Around the U.S., and we had, in the last 20 years, we were in Canada once. Prior to my joining the band, I know that right around 2001, 2002, Alex and the other guys that were my predecessors did a tour in the Baltic countries. They went to Estonia and Lithuania, but mostly in the U.S.
So are you currently on tour?
Yes, we're here. Well, we're in New Mexico at the moment, and we're going to be in Colorado on Saturday night. But as it happens, we're in Santa Fe right now, and we did 2 concerts here over the weekend, and we are in the studio right now, as we speak, working on our new album. Nice.
So what's the album going to be called?
It's going to be called Until We Can't Sing Anymore.
There you go.
Which is kind of an apt title. And it's also the title of a song that my colleague Daniel Bowling co-wrote with Tom Paxton. Tom is, at this point, probably one of the grand old men of the folk world. Tom is a very well-known singer-songwriter. He's in his, I think Tom's 88 years old now. So he's not performing as much as he used to, but he's still writing every day. And Daniel and Tom, over the past 3 years, have written over 100 songs together. So there are, and 4 of them are on our new album. One of them being Until We Can't Sing Anymore. So we thought that would be a good title.
So is there anything else you'd like to discuss before we wrap up?
Just the fact that, you know, the kind of show we do is, I like to think of it as very intimate. It's, the audience is very involved. We talk directly to the audience quite a bit, and try to make it very much of an involving experience, encouraging people to sing along, clap along. I think that's, for me, the attraction of playing this kind of music, that it is very directly connected to the audience. And often, when people come up after the show, we're always around after the show to talk to people, and people have questions about songs. A lot of people like to talk about guitars or banjos, or, what kind of strings do you use? What kind of... And I think that's the beauty of folk music, is that it's a kind of music that engages people, inspires people to get creative and to express their feelings, their emotions. Our mission that we feel is, to keep the songs alive. So it's an opportunity to perform songs of some of our heroes of that era, the 60s and 70s, people like Harry Chapin, Phil Oakes, Dan Rogers, and many others, which to me is also a very satisfying and important part of what we do. For a lot of younger people, they're hearing these songs for the first time, and they embrace them, and that's really satisfying.
So is there any way people can get a hold of you or, find out more information about you?
Absolutely. We're www.limeliters.com. And as I mentioned, there's no GH in the word. We're also on Facebook, and we're on Instagram, and try to stay away from X.
Yeah.
It's not our scene, but absolutely. And we correspond with fans a lot. We're very accessible, and that's part of the fun, too.
Well, I'd like to thank you so much, man, for talking with us. I know you're doing some studio time right now, and we really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you so much, and look forward to meeting you.
And now we're going to take a little bit of time to talk with Eric Stabnau, who is the lead vocalist and tenor sax player for the Glenn Miller Orchestra. That's right, the famous Glenn Miller Orchestra. Very nice to have you here today. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So the band has been around for decades, a really long time, and a lot of people are familiar, especially, jazz enthusiasts. And I know you're probably doing a lot of stuff on the road, right?
The band is on the road all the time, like almost all year round. So as it turns out, we play a lot of places either annually or maybe every 2 years or 3 years.
So you're the lead vocalist and tenor sax player, right?
That's right, yep. I've been playing tenor sax since I started with the band in 2017, and I've been one of the lead vocalists for about 3 years now, since 2021.
So where did you get started on music?
I grew up playing saxophone since grade school, and I played it all through middle school and high school, and I went on to study music as well. I went to college at the Eastman School of Music in Rochester, New York. So I've always loved this style of music. I've loved big band, swing, jazz, all of that stuff. And I heard about the Glenn Miller Orchestra, of course, still touring after all these years, and I had a friend that played with the band. So I auditioned and joined in 2017, and I've been on the road ever since.
Nice. So then I'm sure you grew up listening to Glenn Miller, right?
Yeah, I absolutely was familiar with Glenn Miller. I liked all the big bands of the swing era and the big band era. Glenn Miller, Tommy Dorsey, Duke Ellington, Count Basie. I liked all that stuff.
So does the band still tour all over the world?
I would say most of our touring is around the United States, but we do some international dates as well. We do Canada, of course, every year. There's been an annual Japan tour for decades and decades now with the band, and occasionally we'll do some other locations.
Yeah, you were even here last year. I believe it was at Adams State University.
Absolutely, yeah. I remember the show well. It was a nice theater. It was a good fit for the band, and a great audience, too. And when we play some of these annual shows, our set list changes from year to year. About half of it will stay the same, and will include some of the big number one hits that people know, songs like Moonlight Serenade, In the Mood, Chattanooga Choo Choo. And then the other half of the set list changes because there's just so much music to draw from. So for folks that have seen the show before, you're going to see something a little different. And for folks that are seeing the show for the first time, you're going to see all those big hits.
So then how many people are in the band currently?
Let's see. Right now, I think we're touring with 15, and that includes kind of like your full, what you might think of as jazz band setup, your saxophones, trombones, trumpets, and rhythm section. I sing some of the lead vocals. We've got a gal named Jenny Swoish that sings some of the lead vocals, and we have a vocal group that's made up of some of the instrumentalists that step forward to the microphones and sing some backup harmonies. So there's quite a bit of variety between the instrumentals and the vocals.
So do you perform the original Glenn Miller songs only, or do you also throw in some new stuff?
Yeah, it's mostly the original Glenn Miller stuff from the 30s and 40s. But this band has added music, every decade since then. So we play some newer stuff as well. And sometimes we'll pay tribute to some other big bands. We might play an Ellington song or, another famous big band song of that era. So it just depends.
So what got you into music in the first place?
Probably a lot of different reasons. My dad and my brother both played the saxophone, and I think that was a big part of the reason why I chose the saxophone. And my parents like this kind of music. I used to hear this stuff growing up, and I really gravitated towards it.
So do you play other instruments besides the tenor sax?
Yeah, in the context of the show, I'll play the tenor saxophone, I'll play the clarinet, and sometimes play the flute. And that's somewhat common for saxophone players to, we call it doubling on the clarinet and flute. So I'll play a bit of all three of those.
Are they pretty similar to play?
It depends. There are similarities, so it's easier to learn those than it might be for me to learn something like a brass instrument, a trumpet or trombone. But they are pretty unique as well, so it takes a while to kind of figure out each one.
So I know this is kind of a silly question, but is there a way that people can book you, or are you booked up all the whole year? Do you have like a website?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The band stays busy. We're on the road almost the whole year round. So for people that want to see either where we're touring or get some more information about the band or even get in touch with us, you can do that at our website. It's GlennMillerOrchestra.com, GlennMillerOrchestra.com, and that's got all that stuff on there and lots of information and links and so forth.
And so where is home for the orchestra? Is it all in New York, or are you all from different places?
Yeah, the band is from all over the country. When we play these shows, I'll introduce the band members sort of song after song, and I'll introduce them by their hometown or where they currently live. And the band members are from, all four corners of the country, everywhere in between. One of our longtime musicians is from Anchorage, Alaska. So when we start a tour, everyone flies into the same airport, we get on the tour bus, and we kind of just take it from there.
So where are you currently doing a show at?
Tonight we've got a show in Johnstown, Colorado. We've actually got 3 in a row here. We're playing in a dinner theater. We also played this one last year, so it's nice to be in one place for a couple days.
So, geez, you probably don't even get a chance to really sit down and relax. Do you get any time off at all during the whole year?
Yeah, we'll have time here and there. We'll usually go out for a couple months at a time on tour, and then we'll have a couple weeks off. Then we'll go out for a couple months. Then we'll have a couple weeks off. So we do have time throughout the year. Yeah.
Well, that's good. So what can audiences expect when they go to a show?
Yeah, so they're going to hear a combination of Glenn Miller's most famous songs, his big hits, plus we'll dig a lot deeper into the Glenn Miller songbook as well. So some familiar music and some new music. And, of course, I mentioned we'll play some instrumentals. We'll play some vocals featuring myself, some vocals featuring Jenny, some vocals featuring our vocal group. So there's really quite a bit of variety in the music there. And I'll also MC the show. So between songs, I'll introduce band members, and I'll tell just a little bit about the history of the songs or the music or the band, just to give some background information on what we're doing.
So how long does a typical show run for you?
Yeah, they're usually 2 hours with a 20-minute intermission. So we'll play about an hour, take a little break, and then come back and play maybe 40 minutes. And it really gives us a chance to include just as much of this music as we can.
So I know on the streaming platforms, all the original Glenn Miller songs are all up there. But do you have any of the songs that you've recorded over the last few years on any of the streaming platforms?
Yeah, all the original music recorded by Glenn Miller in the 30s and 40s. You can find that stuff online on streaming platforms, YouTube, etc. For those that come to our shows, we have a couple albums that we sell kind of exclusively at the shows, and those are recordings that we've made within the last, let's say, year or two. We've got a live album, a couple others, so plenty of stuff available online and some different stuff available at the shows.
And I'm sure you have a website too, right?
Yes, we do. Yep, GlennMillerOrchestra.com. That's got all the information about the group and our tour schedule and a whole lot more.
Well, I'd like to thank you so much for talking with us today. I know that you have a busy schedule and you're on tour right now. You're probably in the middle of stuff, but we really appreciate your time and looking forward to seeing you one of these days.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad to be here.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in today, and thank you to both of my guests today. You've been listening to Word, the podcast, and I'm your host, G-Stylez. We'll catch you next time around. Peace.
Hey, yeah. Word. Wanna hear it, wanna talk about it. Word. Wanna hear it, wanna talk about it. Know it's all about the word. You know it's word.